Hello and welcome back to English Podcast Live. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Okay, today's topic, I want to start with a quick question for our listeners. Have you ever said yes to something and then immediately regretted it?
Oh, constantly. Someone asks if I can help with something, I say yes before I even finish processing what they said, and then I'm sitting there thinking, why did I just do that?
And you do it anyway, because canceling feels worse than just doing the thing you didn't want to do.
That feeling right there, that's people pleasing. And today we're going to talk about it, what it is, why we do it, and how to stop.
Because it's not just a small habit. Over time, people-pleasing can quietly destroy your sense of self.
Strong words, but we mean them. Let's get into it. So, Jamie, how would you define people pleasing for someone who's never heard the term?
Great question. People-pleasing is when you consistently prioritize other people's comfort, happiness, and approval over your own needs, feelings, and boundaries.
And it sounds nice, right? Like you're a helpful person, you care about others.
That's why it's so tricky. From the outside, people-pleasers often look like the most generous, agreeable, easygoing people in the room.
But on the inside,
On the inside, they're often exhausted, resentful, and quietly frustrated because they keep giving and giving, but their own needs keep going unmet.
where does it come from? Like, why do people develop this habit?
Most of the time, it starts in childhood. If you grew up in an environment where conflict was dangerous, where someone got angry when you said no, or where love felt conditional on your behavior, you learned very early that keeping other people happy meant keeping yourself safe.
That's a survival mechanism.
Exactly. At 7 years old, it makes total sense. The problem is that at 30, you're still running the same program.
And the situations are completely different. Your childhood home is not the same as your office or your relationship.
Right, but the automatic response is the same. Keep everyone happy, don't rock the boat, don't make anyone uncomfortable.
And there's also cultural conditioning, right? Some cultures, especially in East Asia, really value harmony and not inconveniencing others.
Absolutely. The pressure to be agreeable, to not cause trouble, to defer to authority, these are deeply embedded in some cultures. That doesn't make people-pleasing inevitable, but it does make it harder to recognize and harder to unlearn.
Because it can look like politeness or respect, and sometimes it is. The line can be blurry.
Exactly. The difference is internal. Are you being considerate because you genuinely want to, or are you doing it because you're afraid of what happens if you don't?
Fear versus genuine generosity. That's the real question.
Let's talk about what people-pleasing actually costs you, because I think a lot of people minimize this.
Right. They think, it's fine. I'll just say yes this one time. But it's never just one time.
Cost number one, your time and energy. Every time you say yes to something you don't want to do, you're spending your most limited resource on something that doesn't serve you.
And over weeks, months, years, it adds up to a significant portion of your life that you spent on other people's priorities instead of your own.
Cost number two, your self-respect. Every time you override your own needs to accommodate someone else, you send yourself a message. My needs don't matter as much as theirs.
And you start to believe it. Your self-worth becomes dependent on being needed and approved of, rather than on who you actually are.
Cost number three, the quality of your relationships. This one surprises people. You'd think that always saying yes would make everyone love you, but it actually does the opposite.
People stop respecting you because you never push back, never have opinions, never say no. You become easy to take advantage of, even by people who care about you.
And you attract people who like you for your usefulness, not for who you are.
Which is deeply lonely. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely unseen.
Cost number four, your physical health. This sounds dramatic, but it's real. Chronic stress from suppressing your needs, constantly performing for others, never really relaxing, it affects your sleep, your immune system, your digestion.
Your body keeps the score, as they say.
Cost number five, your authentic self. Over years of people-pleasing, many people lose touch with what they actually want, think, and feel. They've spent so long reflecting back what others want to see that they don't know who they are anymore.
That's probably the most costly thing of all.
It is, and it's the one that's hardest to recover.
Okay, the practical stuff. How do you actually stop? Starting with the most concrete skill, how to say no.
The first thing I want to say is you don't need a reason. This sounds radical, but it's true. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your no.
Though I know that feels impossible for a lot of people, so let's give some practical scripts.
For small asks, I'm not going to be able to make that work. No excuse needed, just a firm, calm statement.
Or, that doesn't work for me. Short, clear, doesn't open a debate.
For work situations, I don't have the capacity to take that on right now. This is professional and honest without being personal.
Or, I want to give this the attention it deserves, and right now I can't do that. Can we revisit this next month?
That one's good because it's respectful and offers a future option, which softens the no without completely caving.
For social situations, I'm going to sit this one out, but thank you for thinking of me. Warm but firm.
Or, my personal favorite, that's not really my thing. You don't need to explain why. It's not your thing. Full stop.
What about when someone pushes back? You say no, and they go, oh, come on, it'll only be a few hours. Or, I really need you for this.
The broken record technique. You simply repeat your no in different words without escalating. I understand it's important to you, and I still can't make it work.
Notice, I understand it's important to you. You're acknowledging their feelings, but you're not changing your answer.
The key word is and, not but. I know you really want me there, and I'm not going to be able to make it. But dismisses their feeling and holds both truths at once.
That's a subtle but really powerful distinction.
Another tool, the pause. When someone asks you for something, you don't have to answer immediately. Let me check my schedule and get back to you. This one sentence creates space between the request and your response, and that's where your authentic answer lives.
Because in that space, you can ask yourself, do I actually want to do this, or am I about to say yes out of habit?
And sometimes the answer is yes, because you genuinely want to help. That's great. People-pleasing isn't about saying no to everything.
It's about saying yes only when you mean it.
Let's talk about the bigger picture, setting boundaries, because saying no is a skill, but boundaries are a lifestyle.
What's the difference?
Saying no is a single response. A boundary is a consistent standard for how you allow yourself to be treated. It's less about the moment and more about the relationship.
So, examples of boundaries in practice?
I don't answer work messages after 7 p.m. That's a boundary. I'm happy to help, but I can't always drop everything on short notice. That's a boundary. I don't discuss my personal finances with anyone. Boundary.
A boundary doesn't require the other person's agreement or understanding. You're not asking permission, you're informing.
Right. I've decided to versus is it okay if I... That shift in language reflects a completely different level of self-authority.
What do you do when someone violates a boundary you've set?
You name it, calmly, directly. I mentioned that I don't respond to messages at night. I'm going to hold to that. No anger, no lecture, just a calm restatement.
And if they keep pushing?
Then there's a different conversation to have about the relationship itself, because someone who repeatedly ignores your stated limits is telling you something important about how they see you.
That's a hard truth, but an important one.
The goal isn't to be rude or selfish. The goal is to be honest. And honest relationships, even when they involve occasional conflict, are far healthier than smooth, accommodating relationships built on one person suppressing themselves.
A relationship where you can only be present if you pretend to be smaller than you are, that's not connection, that's performance.
Beautifully put. Let's recap the key phrases from today.
To say no, that doesn't work for me. I don't have the capacity for that right now. I'm going to sit this one out.
To handle pushback, I understand, and I still can't make it work. Let me get back to you on that.
To set boundaries, I've decided to. I don't do X after Y time. I'm happy to help, but I need more notice.
This week's challenge, find one small situation, where you'd normally say yes out of habit, and practice saying no. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Start small.
And notice how you feel after. A lot of people report feeling guilty at first, but also relieved. That relief is your authentic self exhaling.
Trust that feeling. That's our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening to English Podcast Live.
If this resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe. We're here every week with real conversations about real life.
See you next week.
Take care, everyone. Bye.